Good evening, everyone. We are live. Yes, I can say that. We are live once again with more of our 100 Years of Wonder retrospective of the Disney animated classics, up to number 35 today. And one of, well, certainly mine all-time favorites. I don't know if it is one of yours. I will soon find out because we're going to be reviewing this thing, talking about it, our early memories of this thing. And of course, we want everyone to share at home as well what you think of Hercules. I want to say apologies for the lateness. This is on me. I was running late. I needed some food. I was hungry. I have eaten. I'm all good. And we're ready to talk some Hercules.
I just ate as well. I ate a banana.
You did have a banana, you did. Not very... Well, I was going to say what I had wasn't very Greek. What could we have had? We could have had like some pita bread.
Do you know what? Actually, that's a good point. I almost bought a bowl of olives just before I got home because I was
Nice.
like, some olives. And then I didn't put the connection together, but I should have, and I should have just sat here eating olives. That would have been good.
Greek food's
Olives
amazing. Yeah.
Also, I can see the background this time.
You can. Wait, on StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. You can see all the hard work that I put into the background. I immediately knew that I wanted Olympus as the background because it just looks amazing and it just makes me happy just seeing that image. We've got a few comments. We've got some people in already. We've got Carl who says, "Evening, guys. How you doing?" Oh, can you see the comments now, by the way? Can you? When
I can, yeah.
Woo!
Fuck. I can see Carl. Yeah, he's not what I thought he'd look like.
Is that the positive or?
Oh no, wait. I'm thinking of Brian. Brian?
Oh well, we do have Brian as well. Brian has no image though. Brian is an idea, and his idea is, I love Hercules. That movie came out a couple of years after I was born. Same. I was 4 years old, which is, I'm a lot older than that now.
3.
And he also says Hercules was one of the first Kingdom Hearts worlds to come back for Kingdom Hearts 3. It came back in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3. It's in all of them.
Hercules is the most used world in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
It's in every game but Dream Drop Distance.
Can we call it? I guess you can call it a world. Well, you got like Olympus Coliseum in the first game. It's nice to see Hades, but I love that James Wood still always returns to do the voice of Hades as well. I just think that's so great. It just makes me happy.
Yeah, I like James Woods. He's a good guy.
He is fantastic. Yeah, I don't think I held the DVD up, but there we go. We're talking about Hercules. There it is in all of its shiny glory. I will say that, just like bias aside from my love from this movie, this is probably one of my favorite slipcovers as well. I think it.
You know what?
The scheme just works. I love it.
I was going to say the complete opposite. I think that's one of the worst slipcovers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea and the colors, but I think the actual picture looks shit.
Well, I'm not too keen on the new, the updated cover of the film, because this wasn't what I had on the original video. That's the new front cover now, and I think that's just really basic. The original cover that I had on the video, I think, was Hercules holding up the name Hercules on the title poster, and you had like all the other characters around him. That was my early memories of it. How many times have you re-watched this one today? Is it just the once before the review tonight, or once?
Twice. So the Sunday and just now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. Okay, so you watched it a few times. I've only watched it once, but I have watched, Christ Almighty, I have watched Hercules probably hundreds of times at this point. But yeah, I've only watched it once in preparation for this review. But
I watched it again because I wasn't sure what my favorite song was. It was really hard because I know what my favorite song is, which we'll come to in a sec. But I know because it's my favorite Disney song ever. So, like, I do have a favorite, but then when I watched it, I went, "Yeah, but that's good too." And I was like, "Yeah, but that's good." It's kind of like Batman villains because the Joker is like one of my favorite fictional characters like ever, you know. But so in that realistically, he should be my favorite Batman villain. But then when I compare just Batman villains, I go, "Well, Scarecrow's it's one of the, you know what I mean? Like, it's my favorite Disney song ever." When I look at them, I'm like, yeah, but if you take that out of the equation, that's one of the reasons I watched it again.
This one's got some fantastic songs in it. Alan Menken, absolute genius. You know, I've sung his praises in every single film that he's been a part of in the Disney Renaissance. And this is his last contribution, at least to the Disney Renaissance. He does return for a few more scores later down the line, which we'll get to in a number of weeks' time. But yeah, this is his last hurrah with the Disney Renaissance. I still much prefer the music overall to like Hunchback, but there's the music to this,
too,
and a
yeah.
lot of it comes from the video game as well. We'll have a whole section talking about that original PlayStation 1 game, I'm sure, because that's just as big of part
That
of my childhood as this
PlayStation 1
movie.
game is the reason I was convinced when I was a kid that doing that before you punch makes your punch harder.
You got to wait for the ding ding.
Yeah, I was convinced. And I remember the day my brother said, you know, it doesn't make a difference. I was like, what? I was so upset.
And in that moment, your dreams were shattered, and
I know.
you never came again.
I know. Ever since then, I've stopped dreaming. I became a grumpy old man from that day.
It happens. It happens. I can imagine that being more devastating than finding out about Santa Claus.
I know. Or finding out that they made Last Jedi.
Oh, nothing can be as devastating as that. JX,
I don't know.
hope you're watching.
Knowing that we'll never get another Van Halen album, that's very devastating.
Oh, that's yeah. Anyway,
that's my saddest Van Halen reference.
We don't want to start this off on an absolute downer because there's plenty of fun stuff to talk about with this one. Carl says, imagine Disney releasing that slipcover now. Yeah, no, we can't have any strong white masculine men on our DVD covers anymore. It will be replaced by Meg, who will be flexing. She does flex in the movie, actually. She's a big, tough girl. She ties her own sandals and everything.
I like Meg.
Right, this is probably going to be the biggest section of the whole review, I think. But if we start with you, Dale, earliest memories and early, like, when did you watch this movie? Did you watch it when it came out, or?
Do you know what? I don't know if I watched it when it came out because I never went to cinema to see it. And I don't remember getting it like instantly, but I did used to watch it as a kid often. But like, for instance, there were ones I remember like from the get-go, which we've spoken about, like obviously like Beauty and the Beast, obviously not when it came out, obviously I wasn't alive, but like I remember it from as soon as it was available. Like I remember that being like one of the first ones I watched. I don't think it was one of the first, but it was one I watched a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was, and then it's the thing is with this, as the more I watch it, the better it gets. Every time. It's one of those where my expectations are high, but then every time I watch it, it gets even better. Gets even better, and then I go, yeah, but that bit's good. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Do you ever have that where you're just like, yeah, and this one's good, and so is this. It's like re-listening to a Van Halen album you haven't listened to in a while. And you're just like, that song's good too. So is that one. Do you know what I mean? It is like that, and it's great. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, we speak about James Woods, but the person that steals the show for me is Danny DeVito.
Oh yeah.
And just everything just gets better with. I'm not age, because I don't think that's the right thing to say. With like as the older the movie gets, but every time you watch it, it just gets better and better and better.
Yeah, this film. Oh my god! It's like I've waited for so long until we got to Hercules, and now we've hit. I'm like a deer caught in the headlights. I'm like, oh my god, where do I start? I've got this thought, complete ADHD brain. I'm going to go back to my earliest memory of this film because I did see this in the cinema, and this is why I keep thinking like, well. Surely I wouldn't have gone to the cinema because this came out in 97. Like I would have been 4. Like what the hell? But even last week when we talked about Hunchback of Notre Dame, I definitely remember seeing that in the cinema. It's like a very, very vague sense memory, but I do remember seeing that in the cinema as well. Hercules, I distinctly remember. So I used to go to the cinema every weekend with my dad. It used to be called UCI Cinema. It's now obviously been refurbished and rebranded as Odeon Cinema. And I think, yeah, we went to see this and we were the only two in the entire screening. No one else showed up for it. So it may have been like at the end of its theatrical run or something, or maybe the film had already been released and then they like brought it back a little bit, like a kids club kind of thing, like every weekend for a showing or two. I went to see this, and this film immediately just captured my imagination. I loved everything about this movie. You would have had the McDonald's tie-in toys. I remember the only one that I remember though of toys was the Ice Titan, and it was like segmented, and you could sort of like break it in half and put it back together. Probably not the greatest toy in hindsight, actually talking about it now, but I loved it. Like just having those figures from it. They did release a toy line. I remember having a Hercules that had like a chest plate of armor on with a sword and a shield. Not from the movie, but they had like loads of different variations and versions of Hercules that you could buy. And not to mention, obviously, the video game was huge. Was a huge part of my growing up. I've always been a PlayStation boy, like all the way growing up from PlayStation 1 to PSP, PS3. I still don't have a PS5 though, so I guess the chain has been broken now. But honestly,
It hasn't been broken because you can still get one.
Yes,
Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
It only breaks if you get either an Xbox or if you skip that generation. Like, you know what I mean? That's only when the chain breaks. But yeah.
Oh, I never got a PlayStation Vita either. I don't think anyone did they?
No one cares about the PlayStation Vita.
But honestly, that PS1 game has so many of like my formative memories growing up. My best friend at the time, we were both huge Hercules fans. I just remember like either going over to his after school or he'd come over to mine and we just play that game, even if it was just the first level on repeat. I remember the background music, the One Last Hope song that Phil sings, and you had like the sound bites from the movie, like rule number 95, kid, concentrate, like all of that. And I was stuck on level 3 for ages. Level 3 is where you go to the Centaur Forest, where you have to fight Nessus at the end. And games back then didn't hold your hand. And everything was on a side scroller in 2D. And I didn't know how to beat him. Like the whole time I was like slashing him with my sword. I was doing like the ding ding, and like nothing was working. And I kept dying. And I kind of got a little bit, not traumatized by that level, but I got scared at like video games. When the enemy was attacking you and I kept dying as like a young child, I was like, oh, it's scary because the mean baddie like keeps killing me. And then eventually, I think it was like a friend of a friend said like, oh yeah, you have to jump on his back. Like when he walks away, you have to like jump on his back. I was like, oh. And then you like jump in place and then he does the little riding Nessus animation. And then after that, I completed the whole game. But it was just that level.
It's like Kingdom Hearts 2 where you jump on the Hydra's back and Phil's constantly going, get up on the Hydra's back. We're like, okay, I get it. Like you've said that about 10 times already.
Well, at least he tells you what to do in that game. Yeah.
Well,
we've got Colin Cropley says it was my childhood movie. Yeah, absolutely. This is without a doubt, if I'm gonna say like my top 3 movies growing up as a kid, this would absolutely be in the top 3. It would probably be Space Jam and it would probably be Power Rangers the movie. They'd probably be like my top 3.
You know what, speaking of, when you said you went to the cinema, it was literally just you and your dad watching Hercules. It reminded me of when I went to see Bill and Ted 3 during COVID and it was only me in the cinema. And to be fair, like everyone likes that. Going to cinema, you go, I'm on my own. This is great. Well, I thought I was on my own. Like I was there, and it was great. And then like there was no one around, and then something happened. I can't remember exactly what happened. I just went woo because I was like, no one's here. I did that. I swear to God, someone behind me did the same, and I was like, fuck, that was weird. It freaked me out because I was like, I thought I was on my own for a second, but okay.
It's a surreal experience, isn't it? It really is. But yeah, no, me and him were the only 2 in there.
Why does your dad not come with us anymore to the cinema?
What?
Why does your dad not come with us to the cinema?
He doesn't watch films. He doesn't give a shit. He didn't give a shit back then. Like I remember turning to him and he was like asleep. Of course he was. Every film we went to see was asleep during it. But yeah, this film captured so much of my imagination. Like I remember even being at school in like it would probably be in reception class maybe, or maybe like year 1 or year 2. I don't know what it would have been. Where like it's break time or they just let you draw. I constantly keep drawing the Titans. I love the Titans, and I remember like having a pencil, and for the Tornado Titan, I just do like a series of circles, like a swooshy kind of tornado thing.
I remember when I learned how to draw a tornado. It's probably the only thing I can still draw.
Yeah,
the only thing I can draw still. I can't draw.
I always used to either draw the Titans from Hercules or it was Darth Maul. I loved Star Wars, so I would draw a lot of Star Wars stuff at the time.
Do you know what's weird though? Like I can't draw at all, and I honestly I'm really really bad at drawing. But once, and I kid you not, I can't find it, so there's no proof. But there was one time, and this was maybe 6 years ago. Like it wasn't like ridiculously long ago. I was in my 20s, and I drew Woody the Woodpecker. And it was an amazing drawing. I kid you not, it was fucking phenomenal. It's the only time. And other than that, I can't draw. And I don't know how I did it. And I remember it to this day. And I'm like, that's fucking amazing. And it was so good. It's so upsetting I don't have it. Because I was like, do you know what? That's the one good thing I've drawn. And ever since then, I can't draw.
So where is it now? Do we know?
I have no idea. I have no idea. That's the annoying thing. I don't know what happened to it. But it definitely was a thing. And it definitely did exist. So I'm not making this shit up. It was a thing at some point.
We need to know the fate of Woody the Woodpecker. What became of that
To
drawing?
be fair, I do think I posted it on Facebook, but that was an old account from years ago, so it might be online somewhere if you like search like the deep dark web at some point, and we'll find it one day when we're like 50, and I'll be like, that's it, that was mine, I drew that.
Yeah, just oh my god, I'm trying to think of like more like memories I have. It's just everything. This, you know what? Out of all the Disney films, I've always said that, you know, if I'm going to say my favorite, I think the best is Hunchback of Notre Dame from like a pure artistry and like writing and animation. We had that discussion last week. I think the best sort of like traditional fairy tale one, and the one that just fills me with so much joy, is Beauty and the Beast. But if I'm going to say like my absolute favorite as a kid, and like throughout my life, and the one that had the biggest impact on me, it's definitely this one. We've talked about Kingdom Hearts as well. Brian's mentioned Kingdom Hearts earlier in the comments as well. That also played a part in like the growing up of this, and seeing those characters and hearing some of those voices again, and being a part of that helped recapture the magic from a younger age when I played that first Kingdom Hearts game too. There was something else I was going to mention about. So I mentioned the cinema, the drawing. Oh, my love of mythology, especially Greek mythology, all came from this film. I was fascinated by the characters and the like the design of the characters and the mythical creatures, and I wanted to know more about the Hydra, and I wanted to know more about centaurs and things like that. You know, I was absolutely fascinated in like what's the relationship between Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. And after this film, and over the course of a few years, you know, I'd like read up about it. And I'm not professing to be like a Greek mythology scholar or anything like that, far from it, but it did hold my attention, and I wanted to know more about these stories. And then when you read about it, you're like, wow, that's really fucked up, and the Disney films didn't touch any of that, thankfully, because, you know, that definitely wouldn't be a kid's picture if they did that. And then later on, as I got older, I played the God of War games. And I think definitely with like Hercules, this movie, and also the God of War games, that just really captured my love for mythologies overall, but especially Greek mythology, which is probably like my favorite pantheon of the gods. I think, yeah, I think they're just fascinating. You've got the leader of them, then the one of the seas and the underworld, and like, you know, all the archetypes that you come to know from mythologies as you read about more of them. I just, fell in love with this world.
Zeus is voiced by the
Rip
dude.
Torn.
Yeah, Freddy Got Fingered.
And also, in a neat little Greek mythology tie-in, in God of War 3, he plays Hephaestus, the guy who is like the forge smith, the blacksmith, sorry, for Zeus. Yeah, they got him back. So that's cool, because Hephaestus is in this movie as well. You see him when he's like banging on the anvil, like getting the lightning bolts ready for Zeus. It's pretty cool.
I did not know that.
I kind of wish we'd have seen more of the gods in this, actually. There's the bit where they all get captured by Pain and Panic and the Titans when the Titans attack Olympus. Again, that happens in God of War 2, so similarities between the two there. And Keith David plays Apollo. I didn't know this. He gets like one line in the movie, but it's Keith David, and Keith David's a fucking great actor, so yeah, it would have been nice to see more of the gods.
And what's his name's back? Jim Cummings.
Oh yeah, he's always around, isn't he? He's always doing voices.
When did he start? But like, what was the first one he was in? Because he's always there now, isn't he?
Oh God, no, he played Nessus, didn't he? Let me just have a look. You have Megatron as well as the voice of Pegasus.
Yeah, and he's a helicopter, which is fun.
Let's have a look at his.
Do you know what though? There's a lot of similarities to Aladdin, because you've got like Phil is like Genie, and you've got Pegasus obviously turning into a helicopter and stuff. That there's these outlandish things. Like there's a lot of similarities, which is really cool.
And that's the answer to your question as well. Aladdin is his first Disney voice role. Yeah, and then he's pretty much been probably in every Disney movie since.
Wait, Aladdin?
Yeah,
Jim Cummings was. I swear he was in it before.
Well, filmography.
Swear down.
List of voice performances and direct-to-video films. Yeah, he started off in Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf in 1988, and his first Disney role was Aladdin in 1992 as Razul, who was one of the leader of the guards, wasn't he?
Honestly, thought it was around longer than that.
Same. No, hit it big in the 90s then.
He's just always been there, hasn't he?
He really has. He's great. You could always.
He wasn't born. He was
out now, though.
There.
Yeah. So that's kind of the preamble on Hercules. Where do we even begin with this thing? I guess we can go
His
into.
fucking ears. That's the one thing I hate. His fucking ears. It's literally that's where they must have got the idea of fucking Princess Leia's hair. Like, I'm sorry, but they look like a fucking rugby player in like. Yeah, they look like they're fucking weird. Like maybe there is a bit more. They've definitely tweaked it a little bit, but like you know they've see, looks like Princess Leia's hair, right? But like they are like a fucking rugby player's mashed potato. Fucking like he's been kicked in the ear about
Cauliflower
10
ear, yeah.
times. Yeah, I don't know. His ears are weird. Like it's like if you met Popeye and he came to you with arms like that and stuttering, you'd be like, mate, you had a stroke. Like it's like that. Like those ears are just like, no, there's something wrong with you. You've got tumors.
So I actually really love the animation style in this film across the board. I don't know whether they did base it off this, but the film opens with this. You've got the voice of Charlton Heston at the beginning of the film, which is a really cool cameo. I like that they threw that in. I think is it Charlton Heston? I might be wrong there. Yeah, it is Charlton Heston. Sorry, yeah. And you get the pottery, the Greek pottery with the designs on there. And I wonder if they did base the animation style off that art style from the Greek pottery and Greek mythology and things like that, because it seems like it is, because it is a very different, distinctive style. We always talk about the humans, how they look in certainly Pocahontas, where they had that more chiseled look, I think you said in the review, and a much more realistic look, and even to some extent Hunchback of Notre Dame as well followed suit from that realistic depiction of humans. This one, everything's like crazy stylized, like the angles, I don't want to say it's less detailed, but there's definitely a distinctive style there, and I'm wondering if they did base it off those kind of.
I think it's one of the it's one of the smoothest looking ones. It is one of my favorites as well, because I was looking at that the other day when I was watching it. Like when what's the blue centaur thing called?
Well, his name's Nessus.
I was going to say, I swear he was given a name. Yeah. But like that scene and just how it flows, and then Hercules falls. I just with the fish, and that's just animated so well.
And it is very slapsticky. I love the tone of this thing as well, because it is kind of like a really fun and funny screwball comedy. Like there's a lot of slapstick humor in there and crazy exaggerated expressions and whatnot. It is like straight up like cartoony, which I really appreciate about it. But then you've also got that wonderful Disney level of heart to it as well, and really good writing and good storytelling and good character design too. Remember that, Disney? Remember when you used to do that in your movies? It really used to make a big difference to us growing up.
And then you bought Star Wars.
Yeah, and many other things. Marvel, they've ran that into the ground too. You name it, they've fucked it up. But they didn't fuck this up. This was fantastic. Now,
which is great, because they are the one thing Van Halen is Warner, complete opposite. So they will never buy Van Halen.
With 3 references deep so far, and we're only 23 minutes in, so you know we might even get more. It is a crazy idea for this as well, because on paper that they were pitching different ideas, and I think it was like a story animator. His name was Joe Hydra, I think his name was, or Hader. I'm not really sure on how you pronounce his name. He pitched an idea about telling the story of Hercules, which the Greek pronunciation of the word, but they went with the Roman pronunciation of Hercules, which was really weird, because I always grew up calling him Hercules, and then everyone kept saying like, oh, the 12 labors of Heracles. I was like, why are you saying his name wrong? And then I was like, oh no, Disney actually went with the wrong pronunciation of the name. But they were throwing out different ideas of what to do, and one of the ideas that they came up with was doing an adaptation of the Odyssey, which they quickly abandoned because the Odyssey is very fucking long, and they couldn't really make it work in a colorful, bright, and funny Disney comedy. So that was quickly scrapped. And because that got scrapped, like when they were pitching this film, Joe was like, or whoever pitched it was like, oh, they're probably not going to go for it then, because if they've scrapped the Odyssey, this is very similar, like the idea that I've got. And the original idea was it was going to be set in the Trojan War, and Hercules was going to be kind of caught in the middle of these 2 warring factions of the Trojan War. And each faction was trying to recruit Hercules to be their secret weapon, which would allow them to win the war.
That was, I swear that was supposed to be the sequel as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I did remember hearing rumblings about a sequel.
Yeah, because who was it that took over? Because I can't remember who took over. It was, oh fuck, someone anyway, but he took over and at Disney, and he scrapped all their like video sequels they were going to
That's
do.
right. I
So that's
remember
why I
that.
didn't
Yeah.
get it, which is probably a fucking blessing because they just left it. We got a TV series, which I remember being great. You can't find it on Disney Plus now, which really upsets me, but I remember it being really, really good because it's set in like it's a mid-equal series. It's the same when they did the Zero to Hero movie, which was just a couple of episodes from the series. Like
Yeah.
that worked well. It wasn't just a sequel for the sake of a sequel. Or let's make some more money. It felt like it fit, and it was really good.
Yeah, it ran for 2 seasons, total of 65 episodes. I'm just reading here, and it ran from 98 to 99. 52 episodes in season 1. That's a lot of episodes. Now, I don't really. I remember this TV show existing. I remember seeing like flashes of it. Like I think you mentioned a character like Icarus in it, who's like his best friend or something like that. And I googled it, and I could visualize it in my head. So maybe I watched a couple of episodes or like fragments of episodes, but I don't really have a really like intimate memory of that TV show at all. Like it was just the film for me, and I just kind of was aware that this existed. Maybe it was on like the Disney Channel or on Sky or something.
Yeah,
I
I remember
never had
watching
that
it.
as a kid, so I never got the chance to really watch it all that much.
Yeah, I watched it on Sky. I remember that because I remember it being on like before I was at school, and I remember flicking through like you could see what was on, like Little Mermaid. There was Hercules. I remember it there. So that's what it was on. It was on Disney Channel, but yeah, I don't remember it because I watched it. It must have been like early 2000s. It wasn't in the 90s. I watched it on TV, but yeah, early 2000s sort of time.
Mm-hmm. And you remember it? I might have to like watch a couple of episodes just to see if it's any good.
I
But
wish it was on Disney Plus. It's one of the better ones, but
it'll be
like I say,
online though, I imagine, wouldn't it? Somewhere.
probably. I mean, it's one of the better ones, but like I say, it was a while ago I watched it. But one I did watch recently was Lilo and Stitch the series, which is still the best TV series, well, the best Disney sequel series. But we'll come on to that another time. But still, but yeah.
Carl says you should get some channel merch that says that reminds me of Van Halen. I think would we get sued by Van Halen's like record company?
Hey, I've got a T-shirt that says "Give me Van Halen or give me head." So like that, do you know what I should wear? I don't know where it is, but I'll have to wear that another time.
That's amazing.
But that, do you know what I like that? That reminds me of Van Halen. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to get it done.
Everything reminds you of Van Halen. That's why we have these references.
Exactly. The day that it doesn't, I'll be like, oh crap, what happened?
So the directors of this project, you had John Musker and Ron Clements. They've directed a number of Disney films before this point, and they will direct more in the future. Their big passion project, which I'm astounded that they were working on this for as many years as they were, because I think even when we were talking about, was it Aladdin? I think it was like the early 90s at least. They were working on an early concept which would eventually become Treasure Planet. They were really obsessed with this idea of Treasure Island in space. And after they'd worked on their previous few films, they'd resumed their like work on adapting that and developing the treatment for it and the story. And then Hercules came along, and then Katzenberg was like, right, shelve Treasure Planet again. You're going to be working on Hercules now. So I can just imagine them like, you know, when you sit down after like a long day at work, you think like, oh, and then the door goes and you're like, oh, and you have to like get up and do that. I imagine it's kind of like that. It's like, right, we've just finished that film. We've just finished that Disney film. Like, let's sit down and let's start work on this film that we really want to get done. And then someone knocks on the door like, hey, yeah, no, you two, you're directing Hercules. Yeah. Okay. That's another 2 years out of the production. So yeah, Treasure Planet's just in limbo for ages. And I can't wait to get to that one because it is one of my favorites and it is a fantastic film, criminally underrated.
I've not watched that since it came out.
Yeah. I think it's one of the best. It just never got that traction. I think Disney just really, did whatever. But I know that Katzenberg sort of said to them, you're going to direct this before I greenlight Treasure Planet. So I don't, it's some like dodgy dealings behind the scenes where it's like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You're not getting a green light for your passion project until you direct this film that I tell you to. And even after this one came out, I mean, this was 97. Treasure Planet wouldn't get released for another 5 years after this. I think it was 2002 that Treasure Planet was released. So
2001?
It's 2001 or 2002.
Lilo and Stitch was 2002. That's what I'm thinking.
So yeah, it's just like crazy amounts. You always forget like how long these films are in production for. This film as well, a lot more noticeable now, and especially as because we've been reading like behind the scenes stuff, blend of CGI animation and traditional. We've seen that for a number of films, really, since like Little Mermaid and Rescuers Down Under. That was the films that really pioneered it, was that digital. But it's just such a sweet blend. I think they nailed it. And especially when we get to films later down the line after the Disney Renaissance, where you have stuff like Atlantis, Lilo and Stitch, and definitely Treasure Planet, where you have such a wonderful marriage of computer animation and traditional. If Disney were going in a more computer-based trajectory, like I wish they'd have just kind of settled on that, where it was that blend of the two, rather than just going completely in one direction. You know what I mean? But we'll get there when we get to Chicken Little. It's on the horizon. We'll.
Is that the first one?
That's the first fully CGI one. It depends which list you go for, right? Like if we're going with a US list, then I guess you have to say Disney's Dinosaur, but we're sticking to
the US list doesn't count.
So yeah, the UK list it'll be Chicken Little number 45. 10 films time we'll be there. We'll be at Chicken Little, praying, wishing we could go back to the Disney Renaissance and talk about films like this again. You never know. I want to go into Chicken Little with just like the lowest of low expectations, because that's what I have right now. And you never know, I might actually end up enjoying it.
I've not seen Chicken Little, but I'm not happy the fact that the original tale's called Chicken Licking, and they call it Chicken Little.
Some kind of like KFC advert or something.
No, that was the name. It was Chicken Lick. Unless my memory's playing tricks on me, I remember that the fucking kid's thing is called Chicken Licking, and the sky is falling. I remember that because he was like,
"Sky is falling." I remember. Yeah.
And I was like, Chicken Little. I was like, that's not a thing, because I swear down, it's Chicken Licking. That's the thing. But it's like they do this all the time, don't they? Like they change little things. Like the Arkham series, it was Titan, not Venom.
Yeah.
Like, they always do it in little places, and sometimes you're kind of like, but why?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
know. So I was reading about I guess we can talk about characters a little bit now, because I mean there are so many fantastic characters in this film. As I said, like the actual designs of them, but also the voices just match so well. Before we talk about the villain in this, who is probably my favorite Disney villain, again, Judge Frollo is the most complex, the most well written, the one that I enjoy the most, but my favorite is James Woods as Hades. And I've always described myself in terms of my personality and being very similar to Hades. I'm very cynical. Like his entrance into this film is one of my favorites. You've got everyone at like this baby shower, like family gathering, and everyone's happy, and he's just loitering by the door, and he's like, how sentimental. You know, I haven't been this choked up since I got a hunk of moussaka caught in my throat. And he's just like just an absolute pessimistic, negative asshole. I feel like that's me. I connect a lot with Hades. And again, as a kid, like I had this weird sort of skewed impression of like all the villains in the Disney films. I was always really sad when they never win. Every week I'd watch Wacky Races and be like, oh, Dick Dastardly didn't win, and he tries really hard and he never wins.
And then realizing it's Stop the Pigeon.
I know.
That's very upsetting.
Now, the Mandela effect is the Mandela effect, but this is like a worldwide Mandela effect.
And no one can find evidence of it. It's the weirdest thing, because no one can find any evidence, but everyone in the UK knows that's what it was.
Hang on, I have this on DVD somewhere. Keep talking, because I want to pitch this question to everyone watching.
Because it's true, because we looked it up, didn't we? And every single person bangs on about it was definitely catch the pigeon, catch me over and over and over again. And you can't find evidence anywhere. But there's threads going, yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no, it is. But the only evidence you find is Stop the Pigeon. But it was definitely Catch the Pigeon.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I have them here. I think they did a lot of other cartoons. I'm going to have to see if I can buy some more at some point.
Captain Caveman.
I got Wacky Races, and this is the one in question. Dastardly and Muttley and their flying machines. Now, did anyone watch this show? This is the question that I'm going to pitch to everyone watching right now. Did you watch this show? If you watched it in the UK, the intro, we always think it's catch the pigeon. I distinctly remember hearing that. That's why I've quoted it. That's why I've sung it all of my adult life still. But it's not. It's Stop the Pigeon. And we watched the intro and we were like, this has been tampered with. This has been doctored. This has been edited or changed. This ain't right. It's catch the fucking pigeon. It's not Stop the Pigeon. it's a weird phenomenon. It really is. I can't quite describe it.
I just found it brilliant how when we googled it, everyone was saying the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
But there's no evidence.
It's mental stuff. It's crazy. Like characters in this, like voices. You've already kind of alluded to the fact that you really like Phil with Danny DeVito playing him. Would you say he's your favorite character in the film? And then the most
100%.
standout?
He steals the whole thing. Just the way he is, he does everything. He's the genie of this. He does the weird things. He's just like he's the magical bit. He's just great. Just everything that he does, he steals the show completely.
Mm-hmm. I'm just reading here. I think his character was written with Danny DeVito in mind. I'm just going to confirm that real quick because
I think he's the only one that's not in the TV series as well. He's voiced by some other dude who voices them every now and then.
Would it be the guy who voiced him in the Kingdom Hearts games?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. But he's the only one they didn't get, which is, I say weird. I guess he's more expensive, but
yeah, he would be. He'd be.
No, yeah. But then again, they got James Woods. But then again, James Woods always fucking does it because he's in Kingdom Hearts as well.
Yeah.
So.
So they wrote the character and they envisioned Danny DeVito in the role, who actually originally declined to audition for the character. So they opened it up to a few other people, Ed Asner, Ernest Borgnine, and a few other people. And eventually, I think they pitched it to him again, and he agreed to it. And thank God that he did, because that voice is just so iconic to the character. I can't imagine another voice of Phil. I know I say that, and I know, as you've just mentioned, like other people have voiced Phil, but it never hits the same. They was always trying to do that Danny DeVito voice, but if you were to take Danny DeVito out of it and replace it with another celeb, I don't think it would have.
Mark Hamill.
Difficult to say whether it would have worked or not, because if it had have always been someone else, we would have just always taken that for what it is.
They could have got Mark Hamill to do it.
Yeah, he's a voice actor. He does stuff.
Why not? Yeah.
But no, it's great. I love how he's like this Mickey character from the Rocky films. Is this like curmudgeonly, angry, frowny face. Apparently, they based a lot of the likeness on the character from Grumpy from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which I can kind of see now a little bit in some of the mannerisms.
He looks a bit like Danny DeVito as well, doesn't he?
I always felt really bad. The kind of like the low point of the movie where Phil's trying to tell Hercules that Mega is actually a fraud and she's been behind his back the whole time, and the bit where Hercules smacks him into that weight stack, and there's that there's that quiet moment where it's like, oh shit, like you don't hit Phil, like that. There's a moment where, and Hercules himself as a character realizes what he's done and him like lashing out. That bit always used to make me really upset as a kid. Like I hated seeing Phil kind of sad, and everyone was sad and the mood was down and depressing. Yeah, that bit of the film always used to get to me, that low point. But then it comes back. My God, does it pick up towards the end where he gets his mojo back again? But that was a great moment.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, I think the whole thing is like a proper. When people we have those coming of age movies and all that kind of stuff. It's a proper.
Yes.
That everything is a proper journey, and that's what I like about it. But it's the whole thing's supposed to be like a mythological journey, and it's built very, very, very well. I think out of all movies, like pacing wise, it's paced very, very, very well. I was watching the other day. I watched the first Harry Potter movie again the other day, and I was there watching it, just thinking, this is paced so well. And the reason I'm speaking about that is because it's an example of a movie like I watched when I was a kid. It's over 20 years old now. That's weird. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's like as a kid, and then you don't appreciate how well it's paced until you get older. It's the same with this. I didn't appreciate how well the movie is paced until recently.
Yeah. And a relatively short amount of time. Like I was watching it. Yeah. Is it like 80 minutes? Like 70 or 80 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, 93 apparently. That might be with credits though. But it felt, it moves at such a fantastic pace. And what I love about, you mentioned it's a coming of age film. It totally is. This film was so inspiring to me, like many other films growing up as well. But it's the story of Superman. I was watching it. I'm like, this is the story of Superman. He's this demigod who is raised by mortal parents, on a farm, basically, just like Clark Kent was.
Which is basically like Goku. He comes from another planet of stronger beings. He's raised by humans and suddenly he gets even stronger.
Yeah,
Like we've
it's a
seen it
tale
all
of all the
before.
time. It really is, and it works so well for it. And you're watching the film, and you've got the villain who's trying to turn him mortal to weaken him so that he can get the upper hand and kill him, just like Lex Luthor with kryptonite. And there's a lot of similar things there, and sort of wanting to return home, and a lot of things like that I was really appreciating in the film. And another thing as well was the Superman's clothes. Well, the cloak is what he was wrapped in as a baby. And it's
Yeah,
similar to this as well, because I never really paid attention. I probably have noticed this, but just like never like overtly noticed it. When he leaves home and he says that he's going to go to the Temple of Zeus to find out answers about where he came from. And it's during the Go the Distance. It's like the middle part of the song where you've got the instrumental. His mum gives him like that blue cape, and that's obviously the cape that he has when he's in the full like suit of armor and everything. Not suit of armor, but like when he's in his Hercules gear, he still has that. He still has that cape on the back. And I never really paid much attention to that now, but I just love that little detail. It's so slight, but it just really works for it. That's like his little bit of home that he carries on with him.
Yeah, and his little Gandhi sandals.
Yeah, his little Gandhi sandals. I really wanted the energy drink that they have in this Herculade or whatever it's called.
Do you know what? Yeah, that was a thing. That do you know what? I remember that distinctly from the video game. You collect the thing, yeah, and it would go Herculade.
Yeah,
I remember that distinctively. That was good.
And then you'd finish the level, and the muses go like, ooh, and he like takes a swig of Herculade, and that's how you'd finish it.
It's great. Good time.
Now the memories came flooding back so much to this. If we're going to move on to another character now, Hades, by God, as I mentioned, like my favorite Disney villain, voiced perfectly by James Woods. The mannerisms, he's like a fast talking businessman, like lawyer kind of thing. Like he's got the gift of the gab. He's like schmooze, and all that kind of thing. Fits perfectly for him. You'd never think it would work, but it totally works. And the bit in this where the Hydra has just been crushed by the landslide and they all believe Hercules to be dead, and he has like the game, and he like gets a cigar, set, match, and he lights it. That was always the game over screen, which of course, being a terrible gamer, as I mentioned, couldn't get past level 3. I'd see that screen a hell of a lot. So every time I watch the actual film and it gets to that, I get these traumatic memories of failing every single mission in that game. But I didn't care because it was great. It was a wonderful feeling getting past that third level, actually, in the Centaur Forest, because I think level 4 is then Thebes, which was brilliant. And then you have to fight the Minotaur on the stairs. You have to like pick up a huge block and throw it up the stairs. Then you have the Hydra battle, and I was doing all these levels that I never knew existed because I'd been stuck on this one level for ages, and I was like, I'm getting to fight Medusa. Like you don't see him fight. Well, I think in like the montage you see him fight Medusa very quickly, or at least I think he alludes to it. He says like I grappled with the Gorgon or something like that. But you get to play it in the game. It was great. Loved it. Yeah, so James Wood as Hades. Do you know, I don't know if you read about the film beforehand, do you know who they originally wanted to do the voice of Hades?
Yeah.
Which would have been phenomenal if they could have got him.
Yeah, it would have been Will Smith, wouldn't it? Imagine that.
He's just going to slap Hercules. No, now, I'm going to say the name now, and I guarantee you could picture it. You could picture that voice as the character. Jack Nicholson is who they originally wanted. I can totally see that.
I mean, I could. Yeah, but do you know what? They're not unpopular opinion, but I don't love Jack Nicholson as much as a lot of people.
I know, he's my favorite actor of all time. He's my favorite depiction of the Joker.
Not because he's bad, because I don't think he's bad at all, but I feel like they went with the right choice. I think he's because he's got a very cold kind of look about him, and that's great. And obviously, that's what you want with Hades. But I think it wouldn't have had as much humor to it. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that would have detracted a little bit. But it's kind of like maybe I love Batman '89, but I hate the Joker killed Batman's parents in there. But we won't come on to that. But the point is, there's bits and it's the same with. I feel like Jack Nicholson did a great job, but it wasn't the Joker that I've always loved, if that makes sense. Like, he did great. There was nothing wrong with him. It's the same with like all of Jack Nicholson's things. It's like him being Hades would have been cool. I just think we would have lost an aspect that we gained with James Woods. I don't think it would have been as good.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had that kind of lawyer type of talk, that really fast Talk.
It would have been kind of like for instance, like him in The Shining. Obviously the character he plays is supposed to be, obviously he's this normal character, then suddenly he gets basically, you know, darker and darker. But I think we even said it when we went to see it. It was the whole there was always something a bit off about him. So Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson really portrays well something a bit strange, a bit weird, and it's the same with like if he was in this, there'd be something a bit too off, which wouldn't have the comedic effect. So do you get what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
very good at doing that, and I think James Wood delivered something that I think if it was Jack Nicholson in this, Hades wouldn't have been as iconic as he is.
What's that movie where he played the devil? Is it The Witches of Eastwick? I think Cher's in it, and he plays Satan. I imagine he would have played it very similar to that. I think it's The Witches of Eastwick, and he plays the main villain in it. But yeah, I agree. He would have been very creepy. I could imagine that like classic, I say Joker laugh, but it's just Jack Nicholson's laugh, isn't it? I could imagine, but I can picture it, you know, and even like thinking back to Aladdin, where Robin Williams does his impression, where he does that Jack Nicholson moment, where he's like, "All right, Sparky, here's the deal. You want to court the lady, gotta be a street shooter," like that bit. I can picture that as Hades, especially in the underworld, and maybe that's just my bias for Jack Nicholson because I think he's great. Now, this doesn't surprise me with Jack Nicholson because he loves his money and he's highly sought after in Hollywood, especially around that time. So the studio were willing to pay him $500,000, not to be sniffed at all. $500,000. That's pretty damn good. Plus, no, sorry, that was it. So 500,000 for the role. He declined it, and he wanted a paycheck roughly between 10 to 15 million, plus 50% of the merchandising rights to the character of Hades. Apparently Disney absolutely didn't want to give him like any percentage of the merchandise, and they came back with a slightly higher figure than they'd originally said, but nowhere close to 10 to 15 million, and he turned the role down. Then they went with John Lithgow, who would go on to do Lord Farquaad in Shrek and be absolutely fantastic as that character. And they tried apparently for 9 months trying to get John Lithgow to work his portrayal of the character. Now, if I'm just going by what I can hear when I hear Lord Farquaad, again, that doesn't fit Hades for me. Like, it works for Lord Farquaad, and that voice is great, and John Lithgow is fantastic as well. But yeah, again, it wouldn't work for Hades. And then they got James Woods in, and that was lightning in a bottle, wasn't it?
I think they should have got Gilbert Gottfried to play Lord Farquaad. That would have worked.
I mean, I do love me some Gilbert Gottfried. I do. So maybe
he's tiny. It would have worked. Squeaky voice.
It's really difficult to like go throughout this like whole film without just praising everyone. Even like Tate Donovan as Hercules, like it's a good voice. I haven't really seen Tate Donovan like in a lot of stuff. Apparently, Donny Osmond really wanted to go for the voice, and I think he auditioned for it, but they said that his voice was too deep. But then in the next film that we'll be talking about, they gave him a singing role in that film, which is easily the best song in that film as far as I'm concerned. But the one that I do want to mention as well is Susan, I think it's Susan Egan or Egan, I think it's probably Egan, as Megara. She's one of the best Disney characters, Disney female, like heroines, whatever you want to call them. And I just love her voice as well. We've talked about the Studio Ghibli films, and I can't remember which one it is. It might be Porco Rosso, but I can't remember in the English dub. She voices one of the characters in that too. And I mean, I just know her as Meg. Like, just that voice is so distinctive to me. But apparently she wasn't like a stranger to the Disney family. Before this, she was playing Belle in the musical, the Broadway version of Beauty and the Beast. And she'd auditioned to try and be a Disney character for ages before this point. And yeah, she got the role, which is fantastic. And I can't imagine another voice as this character. And it's such a different character for a Disney heroine as well, really, isn't it? It's just, we've had like headstrong characters before, but she's like really sassy and headstrong and back talking and kind of deceitful through like a lot of the film as well, in that she's almost like a sidekick to the villain for a lot of it. We do get her backstory. Her backstory is like one sentence. I don't know how you feel about that. I think it works. I think we still get everything we need to.
She's also got a different face to all of the others. Her face is a bit like, it's a different shape. Do you know what I mean? It's not that, because they've all got that cutesy kind of, but she's designed a bit differently. it's just the same with like a whole. It's all designed very very differently. So yeah, she is a standout. Like if you would think Disney princesses, realistically, she could count, but you would never ever think of her.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like because yeah, you know.
Yeah, she almost comes across, especially when we're introduced to her, as like this femme fatale kind of character. Like the way that her voice is very sultry. It's a very alluring kind of voice. The lighting as well. It's when she's like wringing out her hair in the stream when Hercules first sees her. She's like an absolute knockout, isn't she? And then I really like the development of her character actually, because on the surface you could go, oh, I don't like that Hercules, who's like this unwavering paragon of a character, gets with a character who's this backstabbing and deceitful. But you have that one line, as I mentioned, where Hades refers to her past, that she sold her soul to Hades to save her boyfriend's life, and then he eventually just ran off with someone else. So you can understand why she's jaded and she's kind of, down on love and that whole aspect. Which brings me on to the music real quick. I don't know if we're going to like dive headfirst into the music straight away, but I did want to mention this. There was a song that was originally written for Meg, which was deleted. I'm trying to find what it's called now, but they got rid of it because they said it wasn't really in keeping with her. Oh, is it something to do with Goodbye? I'm going to try and find it here. And I have heard this song. You can hear this song on YouTube, like it exists. Let's see. Does it say what the song's called? Yeah, here we go. I Can't Believe My Heart, which is it is a really nice song. It would have been a great Disney song. I think it would have worked well, but it was very out of character for Meg at that time. It's a very, as you would imagine, kind of cliched, lovey-dovey Disney ballad love song, and that really isn't the character of Megara at that point in the story. So Mencken went off and wrote I Won't Say I'm in Love, which is an absolute foot tapper, one of my favorite Disney songs. Rewatching this film again, I've watched this film loads, as I mentioned, but when it got to that song, I was like, yes, this is great. And she's got a wonderful voice as well,
It's very soul kind of voice, I think she's got. Like it works in kind of like a soul Motown-y kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean we talked about like the animation style and the kind of like wacky zany quality. Like we're going to do Greek mythology and we're going to give it like this really like overly stylistic tone. And it's like, well, what music are we going to do for it? Oh, we're going to have like a Motown / gospel soundtrack to it. That's such a weird off the wall idea, but doesn't it work for the film? It's so memorable. It does. Alan Menken was originally kind of against the idea. I think it was the directors wanted to pursue that kind of gospel route to the soundtrack, and Alan Menken was like, "No, I want to keep it very, like old timey Greek kind of music and like classical kind of sounding to it." But I'm so glad they went with this because it really does give it an identity of its own, and in some weird mishmash of a world, it works for the film, and like the zany visuals and everything. It is probably one of my favorite Disney soundtracks. It's so memorable. Every single song is hummable, singable, and just completely memorable.
Yeah, I agree. It's one that like I say, I went back to going. So which is my like trying to decide on a favorite, but it's really hard. It's really hard, but it does fall to the fact that one of them is my favorite Disney song ever.
I'm going to try and predict what it is. Let me just bring up the soundtrack real quick. Just before I do, Collins in the comments says Susan Egan voiced Rose Quartz on Steven Universe. Steven Universe. Do I know what that is?
Did you ever see that TV show? Something Hotel.
Something Hotel?
It's set in hell, and there's a hotel, and it's run by like the daughter of Satan.
No, I haven't seen that.
Don't know why that came into my head, but it did. And it's a cartoon musical thing. But yeah,
is Susan Egan in that as well?
No. I don't know why it came into my head.
It's just a random cartoon series you brought up.
Yeah, but it's shit. But it did really well, and it's a really cool concept. It's just not executed very well.
Are you paid by this cartoon to like plug this cartoon show?
Yeah, I'm paid to just like bring it up. It's a good idea. It wasn't executed very well.
Your favorite song? I mean, Is it Go the Distance?
Yes, yes.
Probably
It's my
mine as well.
favorite
Yeah,
Disney song ever.
mine
Like
too.
and the Michael Bolton version as well. Not
Yeah.
like, to be fair, it's very close. But usually I go for the one in the Disney movie, whereas it's the Michael Bolton version with the piano at the beginning and the fucking like just the hot. Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite as well. It always gets me from the. I mean, it's kind of like Hercules' main theme, really, isn't it? When you get that
It's his
horn
I Want
fanfare
song,
at the
isn't it?
beginning.
Really, kind of like, not like I want, but like the journey, the big.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love the build. The singing voice as well. Roger Bart as the singing voice as young Hercules has just got like a really nice, wonderful voice for that. One of my favorite shots in the whole film, hell, it probably is my favorite shot in the whole film, is right at the beginning of that song where he's on the cliff and he starts singing the song and the camera pulls back and you get that wonderful sunset with him silhouetted as he's singing the song. The bit where he looks up to the sky as well, and you have the shooting star where he climbs the tree. There's so much good stuff in this. It's a song that always gets to me and has always resonated with me. Hell, probably even more so as you get older and you listen to you start paying attention to the lyrics more. Michael Bolton, the Big B himself, he is one of my favorite singers. I absolutely love Michael Bolton. I was meant to see him this year, actually. He was meant to be performing one UK show in London. I had tickets for it, but unfortunately, well, you know, I think, did he have like a brain tumor or something? I think he had, didn't he? He's had surgery. He's recovering from that, so it's been pushed back to next year. So fingers crossed he makes a full recovery for that and he's able to perform. Yeah, because with pop versions, I do like a lot of the 90s ones, actually. I was going to say I'm not really a big fan of pop versions of
Yeah,
stuff, but they never
because
seem as good as the ones within the movie.
the
But I do like
Pocahontas one, you really like that one. Like, I like the intro.
that's Vanessa. What's her name? Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, like, but this one, it's one that, yeah, like, because usually the one in the movie always wins. It's always better, but no, this is yeah, hands down, like Michael Bolton's one. Just
There was actually another song that was going to be used for Young Hercules. I'm not sure whether it was going to be used as well as Go the Distance or if it was going to take the place of that one, but it was called Shooting Star. Again, you can find that on YouTube as well. And it fits around a bit of the melody that you can still hear in the song. It's when he's pulling the cart to town and he's like running at super speed and the music's like dun, 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 like that. It's quite upbeat. That's the melody that Shooting Star fits with that. So it would have been Young Hercules. I'm not sure where it would have happened in the film. They definitely went with the best song, in my opinion. And yeah, there's another pop version as well, which I'd heard years before this, and I always thought, was this just a cover of the song? It was. Oh God, what's her name? I'm getting older. I'm forgetting names. This shit bothers me. Oh, real quick, do you know who does the? I think is it the Spanish version of Go the Distance? Yeah,
I want to say Enrique Iglesias.
Ricky Martin.
That's I've never heard
Apparently.
that.
Go the
Isn't
Distance
he
as well.
gay?
Yes, yeah.
Thought
Yeah.
so. Don't know why, but yeah, I thought he was gay.
Go the Distance was also nominated for Best Original Song, but it lost to Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On. That's fair enough. If you're up against Titanic, you ain't winning shit. That was it. Belinda Carlisle.
It's kind of like when Different Kind of Truth came out, and it was Celine Dion that went to #1. If they released it any other week, if Van Halen released that album any other week, they would have won. But I think it was Celine Dion. Was it Celine Dion? Fucking hell, it was someone.
I think it was. I think you've told me about that before.
Yeah. So yeah, if it come out any other week, they would have gone to #1. But they just so happened to that week, Celine Dion. I swear it's Celine Dion. It's going to bug me, but I think it was. But anyway,
I think you're right.
The chick that it was went to #1. But any other week they would have. So this is going to be a record video.
Yeah, so Belinda Carlisle, that was it. That's Heaven is a Place on Earth, right? Belinda Carlisle, I think.
Yes.
She did a cover of, apparently she did 2 versions of I Won't Say I'm in Love, which in some versions of the film does play in the end credits. You know how the film ends where the star is born, cuts the credits start rolling, and then you get a bit more of A Star Is Born. I think in place of that, in some versions, you get her version of I Won't Say I'm in Love. So I don't know if it's like Pocahontas, how you have two pop songs in that. You have If I Never Knew You, and then it goes into Colors of the Wind, and this would have been very similar. You would have had two. Her version's actually great. I really love her pop version of it. It's got a really sweet guitar solo in there as well. So yeah, if you like your guitar solos, check that out, definitely.
Like Fireman Sam.
Like Fireman Sam, one of the best guitar solos ever. I'm not even joking. It's fucking quality. But yeah, all the music to this, one of Alan Menken's best. I don't think it quite hits the biblical, like, raw power and emotional heights of Hunchback of Notre Dame, but by God, it's memorable still, and it's up there. And yeah, the music just makes me happy. This film
it's a better movie. It's a better movie.
Yeah. They're both very different. I'll say that.
I say it's a better movie.
Now, when I was rewatching this film, there is a huge plot hole at the end of the film. Now, maybe I've missed something here, but Hercules can't go back to Olympus, right? He can't live on Olympus because only gods can live on Mount Olympus. That's what Zeus, the statue of Zeus, says to him in the temple. And that's why he's got to prove himself a true hero to get his godhood back so that he can go and rejoin the gods and reunite with his parents. We are all okay on that, right? That's the premise. So we agreed on that. Those are the rules. Hercules can't go back to Olympus until he has become a god. How does Meg get to Olympus at the end of the film, where they both hop on a cloud and they're both standing at the gates of Olympus and talking to Hera and Zeus? Because she's not a god.
I guess it's that whole, like, when the semen enters the body, you are part god, kind of like.
Whoa! Hang on. Nothing has transpired yet. She is still cold from returning from the grave.
Yeah, this is true. I think it's gonna be that, though, isn't it? Because, like, obviously, like, it's the whole. I'm trying to think of a character that's a really good example who's like half and half, like half like something and half something else. But like, it's probably kind of like that. Like, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's really shit. I can't think of a good example of a character, but there are characters there, half and half, like half human, half god or whatever. But the human character can still live there. So like, it does make sense. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, it should have been kind of explained, but I think it's that.
It doesn't bother me. Like, when you hit the ending, like when those like pearly gates open and you see Olympus and the music's doing its thing and he's reunited with his family and he's like proving himself and everyone's there like that. Man, that always gets me misty at the end of this film. It really does. And it doesn't bother me. But then I was like, well, hang on, because if Meg can go there and she's immortal, she's like as mortal as they come. She's like a straight up muggle. And she can get to the pearly gates and all the gods are there and she can talk to them. And Hercules is right there talking to her too. Surely Zeus and Hera could have like sent down a cloud to bring young Hercules up to at least the pearly. Maybe you can't pass the gates, but you can at least be at the gates. They could have spoken to him at the gates. They could have had a relationship with their son, is what I'm saying. But yeah, it doesn't bother me. It's there. Yeah. It's kind of a plot hole. It is, but yeah. My question, I was going to say, just moving to a completely different part of the film now. The Titans. Who is your favorite Titan out of all of them?
The Wind Titan.
Yeah. That's
because one, the easiest to draw, and two, because in Kingdom Hearts 3 was actually the hardest Titan to fight. Now, we are not including the Ice Titan from number 1 because that was a secret bot that was supposed to be hard. That was a super boss. But as an overall, the Wind Titan was the hardest. The Rock Titan was an absolute pushover in both Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was the most disappointing first seed match of the fucking whole tournament. I was like, oh, who's it going to be? And I was like, so you literally just got to hit his legs, jump on his head, and hit him again. Cool. Like, and then in Kingdom Hearts 3, you fucking ride a roller coaster around his head and shoot him with your fucking magic powers from your Keyblade, and that's it. And it's great, and it looks cool, but at the same time, you're just like, why in every game are you so easy? But the Wind Titan is fucking cool. You have to air step across buildings that he throws at you. It's fucking cool. But yeah, the Wind Titan, I would say.
Yeah, he was always mine too. I do love like fire creatures and everything, like the Balrog.
The lava one just looks a bit pansy,
I like the lava Titan. I do like the lava Titan, I must admit.
I don't know, like, I think his design's a little bit a little bit retarded. Like he looks like the slow cousin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they were all talking, they'd be talking, and like you get the fucking like the ice one would be like a kind of hissing like kind of thing, and then the wind one would just be the kind of mad, kind of weird, just like wow, like you know what I mean? And then the lava one kind of be like, "Bah, hello." Like do you know what I mean? It would be like that, like that's what you would get from him. But then again, the Rock Titan would too. The Rock Titan would fall over whilst doing it. So I think they're the slow dribbling ones, and then the ice and the Wind Titan are just like the more like
Yeah. I always thought it was weird that you've got the Rock Titan, you got the Wind Titan, Ice Titan, Lava Titan,
To be
and
fair,
then
actually, that's a good point.
and then a random Cyclops who just happens to be there as
All
well.
you have to do to defeat Lava Titan is piss on him. To be fair,
Right.
like realistically,
Yeah.
look, because the thing is, and I always say it's about ice. As much as I hate the cold, ice is one of the coolest things. With like not the pun, like no pun intended, but like the coolest thing because like if you
Arnold
melt the Ice
Schwarzenegger.
Titan, he becomes the Water Titan, and you're fucked.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the lava one, you just piss on him, and he just goes out, and he's a rock that don't move. Basically.
But yeah, I was always like, why is there just like a random Cyclops amongst the group? It's just really strange. There's one part of the film that's always confused me. It's almost like there's a deleted scene that was removed. Like it doesn't add up. And every time I was watching out for it again the other day when I was rewatching the film, and it's still the same. It's right after Meg dies and Hades's deal is broken, and then Hercules gets really enraged. Oh, that was the other comparison to Superman the movie. In the original, Lois Lane dies at the hands of Lex Luthor's missile, and Superman gets like fucking pissed. It's one of my favorite scenes in the film where he goes like, ah! Like screams as he flies into the air to take the fight to Lex Luthor. And I was like, oh, it's kind of the same in this. Like his lady dies and he has to like change fate or change time or,
But the difference with Superman and Hercules is Hercules doesn't end up in Milton Keynes and film a really shit movie afterwards. Yeah. That's the difference.
That's like Milton Keynes' own claim to fame, isn't it? Is that Superman 4: The Quest for Peace was filmed there. The day
Have you ever watched it? It's great. It's amazing.
I still need to watch 3 and 4. Actually, I've never watched.
Swear down, it's literally like 1 minute less than a fucking hour as well. It's really weird. It's so bad. It's amazing.
But the scene that always felt not out of place, but like something was missing. You have Hades freaking out in the underworld after Meg's dead, and that his plans have all gone apart, and then Hercules comes breaking through the door, riding the Cerberus, right? And the Cerberus is pissed, like it's like angry, and he's like, "Where's Meg?" And he's like, "Ah, Wonder Boy." And then the Cerberus kind of has like a really sad face, like it droops its head down so that Hercules can get off, and it's kind of whining like a sad dog. And then Hercules and Hades have like a bit of a back and forth, and then all of a sudden, like the Cerberus is like angry and snarling and bearing down at them. I'm like, well, why does it go from angry to being like really sad and kind of cowering, and then goes back to it's just like it's so random. It feels like something's missing from the film. I don't understand why it does that.
Well, the thing I don't get is like Hades is blue, right? Now blue flames are hotter than orange flames. So how come when he gets really angry he cools down?
Yeah, but red's like angry, mean, bad color, isn't it? So that's why.
Scientifically, this movie makes no sense. So there's a scientific plot hole here.
Fire. It's a cool fire.
Yeah, no, but I don't get he's blue when he's fiery, but then when he gets angry, he cools down. Not really how it's meant to go.
You're bringing science into it, sure.
I'm just saying this is not what I was taught at school, and I feel like it was a lie.
We haven't talked about the Muses. They're fucking great, and their vocal talents are brilliant. And it reminds me actually of another Alan Menken project. Have you ever seen Little Shop of Horrors? I don't know if I've asked you that before.
I have not actually. No, I haven't.
So throughout Little Shop of Horrors, you have like a chorus, like they're like narrators that are very sort of like gospel and soul singers all the way throughout the film. I've actually never checked to see if any of them are the same singers from Little Shop of Horrors. I'm guessing they're probably not, but it's a very similar kind of vibe to it. That kind of like gospel characters narrating the film in a very similar way to that. I'm going to try and see if I can find it. Here we go. The Muses. Let me see. Does it say anything about Little I should have checked this before. Nope. Okay, Hercules was one of her favorite first films. Let's just see if there was one. Nope. Same again. Last one. No. Okay, so they weren't in Little Shop of Horrors, but it's a similar kind of thing. I just wanted to bring that up. Have we talked? Oh, favorite scene. Have we talked about favorite scene? We talked about favorite character. You've said Phil. We've talked about favorite song, which Go the Distance for both of us. Do you have like a favorite moment in the film?
I like the Hydra's fight scene. I really do.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that I would say is my favorite. I also do really like Phil's little house. I do like that. It's a very memorable, funny little. But they're two very contrasting things, aren't they? It shows the different like parts of the movie. But I'd say the Hydra, hands down.
Yeah, I'm glad you were. That's where I wanted to kind of push it to. I was going to talk about the Hydra scene. So I was reading it took them 1.5 years to animate that 4-minute sequence, and you believe it. And this is where we're seeing that computer animation used to sparing but really, I was going to say effective effect, but it does give it like a visual style of its own. It feels different to everything else in the movie. It feels larger than life. That whole sequence does. So that they apparently built like a model of it and then scanned it, and then that was like the wire framework for like the digital effects. But I like how we're seeing more of that in the film, and I think it really works to do that with the Hydra as well. The color scheme as well, it's very like vibrant film with all of the colors. Like Zeus, whenever you see like depictions of Zeus, it's always like bearded guy, white toga. In this, he's wearing like bright purple. Hera is like bright cerise pink. Mega is like all in pink as well. And the Hydra, like a giant purple creature. So there's a lot of like color and visuals going on with it.
Maybe that's why I like it. It's my favorite color. Maybe that's why I like this movie so much.
But it's just like a really fun, energetic sequence, isn't it? One of my favorite bits is where there's like 30 Hydra heads, and it's insane. And he's like sliding down one of the necks like a roller coaster, and it recreates his training sequence from earlier in the film, which I really appreciate. He's falling down the Hydra, and he says like, "Phil, I don't think we covered this part in basic training." But they actually did. It's like where the sharks are coming from side to side, and you've got like the giant chomping thing that he has to get past, and he has to rope swing across a bit. All of his training comes in handy in that part, which I really appreciate. There was one joke that took me ages to realize what it was, and that's where Pain and Panic disguises the children. One of them says, "Someone call IXII." I didn't know what the fuck that meant as a kid. As I got older, I was like, see what you did there. And it is very similar to Aladdin, I think, in that regard, how you do have a lot of modern pop culture elements to it. Definitely sort of like the element and the theme of celebrity, in that they have Hercules almost be like a sports celebrity. He's doing commercials. It reminded me very much of like, is it Rocky 2 or Rocky 3 at the beginning, where he's doing like commercial deals and everything. And he's in the public limelight. He's got a merchandise range. He's got this and that. And I imagine that's what some like big sports stars, I guess, like during that time, the 90s, like Space Jam, I guess, like Michael Jordan was huge and doing like autograph signings and everything. It definitely plays into that element of celebrity culture, I think. And a lot of like modern stuff, which is all fun, like Thebes as well. They call it the Big Olive, and it's like New York City. You've got like the sidewalks and like the traffic lights and everything. It's all really creative. It's all really fun, I think.
Yeah, I do. I did like the design of Thebes and Greece and the whole like look of it. Is it a coincidence that olives are greasy and it's in Greece? I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so like as you read like more about Greek mythology, I'm like looking at all like the gods at the beginning, and I'm thinking, because they never actually say it in the movie, but I guess it is another familial Disney film, isn't it? Like Scar was Simba's uncle and tries to kill him.
Hang on, it's Roman, isn't it? The numbers that's using IXX, or
Yeah,
that's Roman, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah,
because that's what's on Yeah, because 1984, Van Halen's album's written in MC. It's all done in like.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. I round up to 5. This is a record. All we need now is a Ducky reference. So
We do. We might still have chance. You never know. But yeah. So they never actually say in the movie that Hades is his uncle, or like Zeus's brother. They never say that. Of course, that is in mythology. But then in mythology, Hercules' mom Hera is actually. Well, actually, no. I don't think she is his mom in Greek mythology. I think Zeus puts it about a lot in the mythology. Okay, he basically anything with a pulse, anything that breathes, he will fuck, and
he's
he
like
does.
David Lee Roth.
Yes, yes. And I think that Hercules is Heracles is a illegitimate child, and Hera really can't stand him because I guess he's a sign of Zeus's infidelity, right? So she's actually the one that kills him in the mythology at the end. She poisons a tunic, I think, and he puts the tunic on and kills him.
What I really like about, and I don't know if this is just, well, obviously Hercules based, but like with Greek mythology, it's kind of like all the stories. There's an adaptation here. There's this adaptation. There's this. They all follow the same story, but there's different kind of adaptations. And and Hades as a Disney character as well feels that kind of way because you have like why have all the other Disney films gone out of my head? But like Jafar, for instance, he has with the sequel he has an end. Like he does die, he does this. Whereas Hades is just infinite. He's always going to be infinite.
Yeah.
And there's like an infinite number of like because I absolutely loved when I was younger, like in school, and they tell you like this story of like Achilles and Icarus, all that sort of stuff. It was great. And I always loved that sort of stuff. And the thing is, there's just so many different sort of variations. And I feel like you could have, let's say they remade Hercules, but as like a cartoon. Don't do some stupid live action remake, which they're going to do anyway. But I just mean, let's say you remade it and just had Hades do something different. It could hold up as a whole race as another universe. It's kind of like Batman, and there's a lot of Batman references today, actually, isn't there? But do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like Batman having a different story with the Joker. Like, it's not all the same story. There's different, they're all their own kind of thing. I feel like you could do the same with Hercules.
Are you aware of that series of books they released where it was like all from the villain's perspective? I think they did one for Ursula.
Is it a graphic novel?
I don't think they weren't graphic novels. They were just like a novel. Yeah, they were just like a book.
Then no.
Yeah, I know there was an Ursula one. There was a few more. They did like a range of them. I don't know if they did Jafar as well, but I can't remember if they did Hades actually. Maybe not. I think they did like the evil queen Ursula. It could have been just like the female villains, maybe, which is very sexist if that's true. But yeah, I'll have to check that. But yeah, no, I could definitely go for that. I know someone's going to say, "Oh, what's that piece of shit Disney Plus show, the live action one, where it's like the no, well, yeah, it's like is it the kid versions of the Disney villains or their children or something?
What?
Yeah, it's oh, hang on, Disney series young Disney villains.
Do you know what was good though? House of Mouse.
The House of Mouse was brilliant. Yes, I agree. Oh, what the fuck is this show called? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Anyone who's watching? It's like a Disney series, and it's like the villain's children or something.
That sounds fucking awful.
And Descendants. That's what it's called. Yeah, no, that's a.
Is Disney that what that is? Is that a Disney villains kids thingy?
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it's awful and terrible. Yeah, it takes place in a world that serves as a continuation of the animated Disney classics. Each film chronicles the lives of the teenage children of 4 Disney villains. Yeah. And then you have the Queen Belle and King. The teenage son of Queen Belle and King Beast. Oh, this is just really bad. This is just really bad.
It sounds bad.
Anyway, I think we're probably rounding up now on Hercules. Just final thoughts on it for me. Absolutely outstanding film. No matter how many times you mentioned it earlier, every time you watch it, it gets better and better. And it's a film that I have periodically watched loads. Like, I'm not going to say that like a lot of the older ones that we did in the retrospective, it was just like, oh, this was a joy to come back to.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember this and I didn't remember that, and it was really good revisiting it. This, like, I know like the back of my hand because I've seen it so many times. And you know what? Sometimes we like come back to those films that we've watched loads and just go, yeah, I still like it. It's a bit of an underwhelming review, I guess, because you're expecting to say something different and you just don't have it. With this one, it's just a pleasure watching this. I can watch this any day of the week. This is probably the most important Disney film to my growing up. This and maybe like Lion King, I would say, with the two big ones, with like messages and meanings that I've taken with me, as I've got older, and really mean a lot, and mean more to you as you get older and you come back to these films. And that's why films like this were so good, because there was something in there for the kids, there was something in there for the adults to latch onto as well. Great characters, wonderful animation, a good, like, vibrant, quick-paced, zany, good slapsticky comedy film with a lot of heart to it. Fantastic music. What more could you want from a Disney film? Disney's Hercules, one of the absolute just shining stars of the Disney Renaissance, in my opinion.
I know, weirdly, you only get Hercules at your party in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, what's with that?
I know, like,
and you beat him by throwing barrels at him in Kingdom Hearts 1.
I know, tell me about it. It was weird. I didn't understand that, but it's like Hercules is just great as a character as well. I mean, I think the thing is, as a character, he is great because he's innocent, but yet he's not stupid. Like, you get some. Again, I can't think of a good example of this, but you get some characters, they're meant to be strong, but they want to show the innocence. They make him stupid. But Hercules has never come across as stupid. I mean, he gets what he deserves at the end, and it's felt warranted. And he's never, like I say, he's never stupid. It's not like, because some characters, they do ruin like that. They want them to get to some sort of hierarchy, but the whole journey they're an idiot until they get it, and suddenly they're like the wisest person ever. He actually has really good character development the whole time.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Totally agree. Next week, we will be back at the same time, 8 p.m. I'll promise not to be late this time, guys. And we've got an absolute... this, again, you're going to hit... I'm like a broken record when it comes to the Disney Renaissance. Every single film is an absolute hitter. This is one of my favorites. Went to see this earlier... Was it earlier this year? For the 25th anniversary. Christ, I'm old. Really, really old. We've got number 36, Mulan. It's going to be a good one. Great review. And I'm sure a lot of talking points in this one, not just comparing it to the live action adaptation they did, but also the current state of how Disney writes women characters at the moment. This is the example of how you do it, Disney. This is how you do it. And you did it back in 1998.
The weird thing is that the way Mulan is written, like her character, is exactly what everyone expects a woman to be like today. Like, do you know what I mean? It's written exactly how everyone wants to be a woman to be today. It's really, really strange. But I have a very unpopular opinion on this movie.
Oh no!
Not on the whole, not on the movie as a whole, but there's a part in the movie.
Hold on to that thought. We've got to give the people something to tune in for next week.
I said there is an unpopular bit, not of the whole movie, like, you know what I mean. But there's a part that,
Before we end the stream tonight, Carl's just added a few more questions at the end. Carl says, "Am I all set for the Lost stream?" It's funny you should mention that, actually. So I was chatting to my childhood mate earlier on today. We used to be like inseparable at school, but life gets in the way. But he like shot me a message. It was like, "Hey, guess which TV series I'm like rewatching for the 4th time?" And I was like, "Right, what are you watching?" He said, "Lost." And I was like, that is very almost convenient timing, because in September it will be the 20th anniversary. And I did ask him, I said, like, do you want in on the stream? He's a bit like quiet, and he said like he didn't want to be on it because he's quite awkward on camera. But I was like, damn, because he would have been like great to get on the stream for it for a Lost conversation. But I need to start watching them. I'm going to try and get through all 6 seasons if I can before September.
When you said the Lost stream, I thought it was like there's one hidden somewhere that you've never shown anyone. That's what I was like. I was really intrigued, and then you were talking about TV show. I went, "Oh, that's a shit show."
TV. Oh,
I think,
it has a lot of good moments in it
to
too.
be
The
fair,
ending was shit.
I've never fully watched it. I just
Yeah.
heard what happens at the end, and I went, "Wow, that was awful."
So what the plan is for it, I'm going to try and see if there's any YouTube channels, any like big channels, or not. It don't have to be big channels, but anyone that does lost content or has done lost content before, and I'm going to try and reach out to them. And I'm going to see if I can get them on for a stream, because I think it'd be really good to get other people on. Like you don't just want me just waffling on for a couple of hours. I'd rather have it like be an open discussion for people that love the series, or even if they don't like the series but did grow up with it or watched it when it was out. I think it'd be a really interesting conversation. So, but I feel like to do that, I need to watch all 6 seasons again and get fully prepared for it, so it's fresh in my mind and I haven't got this idyllic idea of what it used to be 20 years ago. My God. And I want to kind of approach it again with a fresh pair of eyes. So I'm going to try and start working through that. So I've got an idea. I want to do a roundtable discussion on Lost as a whole, of our memories on it and favorite moments, favorite characters, everything in between. But if I'm going to be watching the series as well, every single episode, I think there's like 108 episodes or something. I'm not sure how many there are. I want to do like a little bite-sized review on each one. I just want to have a video out there of me reviewing every single episode of Lost, and each review of the episode is like 5 to 10 seconds long, like a quick fire little summary of what I think of it, and then move on to the next episode. So like 10 seconds max per episode. I think that could be really kind of cool, of all 6 seasons in one video. So I'm thinking of doing that as well. And then Carl says, will I be watching the new film Longlegs? Thought it was way overhyped. I've heard about this. I know my best mate went to see it the other day and said that it was kind of like mixed reviews. Probably won't get to that one, but I did see that the new, like X and Pearl, the new one of that's out, Maxine, which I didn't even realize that had been released. I think it was like a random YouTube advert at the beginning of a video said that Maxine was out. I was like, oh shit, I guess I need to get to the cinema to see that then. So I'm going to try and get to see that either this week or next, if it's still on. And yeah, I will have more content out for you guys. Until then, though, we'll be back Monday next week, but I will be returning in 2 days' time on Wednesday for the finale, the exciting, nail-biting finale of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. Can't wait.
To be fair, I don't think it's been given a fair shake. I might watch it,
But yeah, what was I going to say? I'm out of booze, so like the last couple of weeks, I've been having like a cold can of Guinness, and I could buy some more Guinness just to finish out strong, but I don't know. With how this show's been going, I think I'm going to need something a little bit stronger for the finale. So I might get some like vodka or
Heroin
or whiskey in just for the finale. Who knows? But yeah, no, I think that will do it for the live stream tonight. And so I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that's commented and shared their thoughts on Hercules. And if you're discovering this now, let me know your thoughts on Hercules. Any of the Disney films in general. We are, as we said, just like over the halfway point in this retrospective. I think we've clocked it that we'll be winding up sort of like midway through January, I think, if we keep going sort of the way that we've been going with everything. But we've got some absolutely fantastic Disney films coming up over the next few weeks with the likes of Mulan. We've got Tarzan. Beyond, we've got like Emperor's New Groove, Treasure Planet, and a whole host of Disney films. Massive retrospective. And yeah, I love how, I say quickly we're getting through it. We're going through it steadily, but they're really mounting up now. So we're going to enjoy the next 2 weeks. Let's finish out the Disney Renaissance strong.
What's after Mulan?
After Mulan is Tarzan.
Tarzan, that's it. That's a good one. I like Tarzan.
And we have a little bit of a dip. We got Fantasia 2000.
Not seen that ever.
And then we're into like Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis, Lilo, Treasure Planet, boom, boom, boom. Good stuff.
Yeah, those are good movies. I remember when Sinbad came out. I know this isn't Disney, but it was around that time as well, wasn't it? Sinbad
yeah, DreamWorks,
yeah. That was good. That was a good time for animation.
80s and 90s, best decades for family entertainment. I think it peaked with the 90s, definitely.
Speaking of animation, do you remember Dungeons and Dragons, where they went on a roller coaster?
Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, there was Dungeons and...
I remember the piece of shit Jeremy Irons film.
No, there was Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it was like they went on it was like an '80s one, I think, and they all went on like a roller coaster. And that's all I remember. There was a roller coaster. It was Dungeons and Dragons. So I said to my mate the other day, I was like, "Oh, what was that?" It was like to do like it was. They were on a roller coaster. It was to do with like Dungeons and Dragons. It was literally called Dungeons and Dragons. It was great, but yeah,
I don't know. I don't remember that one. No,
it was good.
Also, like that, unlike that animated series that you mentioned randomly earlier about hell, someone living in
Do you know
hell.
what? No, I didn't think it was that great. I tried it. It's such a cool concept, and the characters look cool, and it's about Satan's daughter. And I mean, like, you know, if you were to have a dream woman, if it's not Ariana Grande, it would be Satan's daughter. I don't know, just Satan's daughter. Not this one, but just Satan's daughter in general. I think she would probably be one of the best women ever in the world, next to Ariana Grande, because why not? Like, she like wants to eat you at the same time. Like, you know, what's not to love?
Exactly. See you, everyone.
Whoa, hang on, whoa. No, we have to just for another 14 seconds, so it's exactly 1 hour and a half. Because
oh, okay, sorry, yeah, okay. So is this where we wave at the camera and the credits go up?